Now, an extra perspective guest for you today on the programme, a man who works on the front lines to save lives in Gaza. Dr. Mohammed Abu Mughaiseeb is Deputy Director, Medical Coordinator for MSF's operations in Palestine. He's worked there not only through the recent conflict, but for more than 20 years, trying to do his best to help those most in need. He has a book out as well called Gaza Hell, which has just come out too. And he joins us now here on set. Thanks very much for coming in and talking to us on the programme. Let's go back, first of all, before the October 2023 attacks, if we can. Relative peace in Gaza. Tell us what it was like working in Gaza at that point.
So, I came to Gaza in 2000. 20 years ago, I came to Gaza just to see where actually my parents originally were from. They left Gaza in the 50s. So, and I was born in Kuwait, raised in Kuwait, and then I did my studies in Latvia, Riga, and I decided to come just to Gaza and, to see where exactly my family were from. And I started a family, and I started my career as a medical doctor with MSF, Sans Frontières, for more than 20 years. The life in Gaza, it has never been stable. It was, every few years there was a military escalation between Hamas and Israel. In 2008, 2012, 2014, 2018, and it was ongoing. So it was not stable, but there was still life. There was still hope that, at one point I had a family raised. Health system was fragile, because, there was still restriction on a lot of things in Gaza. The movement, the travel was very difficult to move and go out. A lot of things were not able to. There was shortage in the hospitals, chronic shortage of the hospitals of some drugs and medical items. So, but there was still life.
There was still life. Yeah. But then, of course, it got much, much harder, I assume, after October 2023. What changed?
Oh, wow. A lot of things changed. It's changed upside down. 360 degrees. What happened 7th October, it was a different, period that Gaza had faced. I never seen in my life. I was in the Gulf War before. I was in Gaza, different military escalation. But after 7th of October, I saw these in science fiction movies. The things that you see in science fiction movies had been done in Gaza. This is this huge destruction of every aspect of life. Starting from the water, the food, the life, the buildings, targeting everything in Gaza. So there was a huge, there's no description to the situation in Gaza. As you see in the screens, it's just the land of rebels now. It's...
And working as a medical doctor, presumably that made it even harder on a daily basis?
For all medical workers and health workers who were working in the health field and mainly in the hospitals, they were mainly part of the population. So when I mean part of the population, they have families who are displaced. They left their homes. They were starving at one point. They were looking for water. They were trying to secure their daily life. And they were working in a condition that is not supposed to be, hospitals not supposed to be targeted. And it was on the daily basis targeted.
It must be intensely difficult. You go to work and you're faced with unimaginable horrors, I can only imagine. And then when you go home, as you say, you've got to try and keep your own life running as well amid that. I know you were displaced several times yourself too.
You go to the hospital, or the colleagues who go to the hospital, they go with fear and stress because they know that they left behind them a family who are as well displaced, and they don't know that they will receive their families in the ER, emergency room, or in the hospital, because it happened with our as well colleagues and friends who were working inside the surgery, doing surgery, operating on patients, and suddenly they received members of the family, their kids, sons, daughters, injured and killed from airstrike. And they were working with limited means of, they were operating patients sometimes on the ground because the operating room was completely full of patients. There was no space to operate except on the ground. They were using limited painkillers because there was no painkiller. So they were doing amputation without painkillers. It was the number of patients that have been arriving is upon the capacity as well. 100 patients arriving at once to the hospital. It was chaotic. It was, they were trying to save what they could save.
You mentioned earlier on hospitals sometimes being targeted as well. I mean, Israel says that sometimes these hospitals were being used to shield Hamas or Hamas fighters. I mean, did you ever see any evidence of that at all?
Look, I mean, seeing fighters and resistant groups or whatever they are calling them, I mean, no. You could see security people, yes, there is security in the hospital. I mean, they could be police of Hamas. But this is not an excuse to bomb the hospital. I mean, in the hospitals in Gaza during the war, it was hospitals, it was shelters for the people. Patients were coming with their families. Medical staff are working there. And even if there is one Hamas person inside who's wanted for Israel, you cannot target him and kill up beside him 100 people. So, I mean, this is not an excuse. I mean, there could be, yes, but this is not an excuse to bomb the hospitals.
You managed to get your own family out, didn't you? That must have been a great relief.
I am saying all the time that I was among the luckiest that managed to evacuate my family in February 2024 after 5 months in Gaza, and they faced a lot of suffering during this 5 months of war to Cairo. But I was lucky. I mean, I'm saying you that it was not everyone who managed to evacuate their family. And I stayed after this until I was evacuated by the Irish government in September.
And how difficult has it been? You yourself came out in September, much to your relief, I suspect, but at the same time, knowing very well that other colleagues are still trying to cope with the situation in Gaza as it is now.
I will not hide, this. I will say that I was really very mixed emotions. I mean, I was very happy, first of all, that I was accepted to be evacuated from Gaza after 712 days being there, because I want to unite with my family that I couldn't see, and I lost hope at one point that I will unite with them. And second, it was mixed of sadness that I left everything. I mean, we lost everything, our memories, our histories. I was not allowed to take nothing with me when I was evacuated. The instruction was to go with what you are wearing and your mobile and charger and few cash, and nothing else you are allowed to take. So I left behind everything, plus my friends, my colleagues, my neighbors, my community. And I know how they are suffering still there until today.
Relative peace at the moment in Gaza. I mean, presumably you have much hope, keeping all your fingers crossed. I imagine that will continue.
Unfortunately, I mean, hope and all of this is a fragile world in Gaza now. I mean, what you see is fake ceasefire, because since they announced the ceasefire, there's more than 370 people have been killed and 900 has been injured. 60% are children and women. So, I mean, this is not ceasefire at all. I mean, there is no way to call it ceasefire even. So, I hope, I mean, even if I'm saying that hope is a fragile word, I hope that there will be a real ceasefire or stop of this war, because the people of Gaza want as well peace. They want to live. They want to rebuild, if they could rebuild back what has been destroyed.
Good to have you with us on the programme today. Thanks very much for coming in and talking to us, Dr. Mohammed Abu Mughaiseeb from MSF, from Doctors Without Borders. Thanks very much once again. Once again, his book is Gaza Hell, just out as well. So good to have you with us on the programme. Thanks very much.